I see so much in my community. There's so much value there for me personally and for our members that it's like a life force of its own, not to be too woo-woo, but like I can feel it and it is evolving and developing and growing and changing just like we do. And I'm learning along with it. So if I had held it back and said, oh no, you're too small, you can't try this, like I'd still be waiting. And it brings me so much joy because I've discovered about myself, I don't like to do the same thing over and over again. So in my community, we have different themes every month. We're always talking about different things. We're always doing different things.
This is Rebel Therapist, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are trained as therapists and who want to level up their businesses, make a bigger impact, feel fulfilled, and be very well paid. I'm your host, Annie Schusler. This week, I'm talking to Kim Restivo Lange, a therapist and entrepreneur in Wilmington, North Carolina. Listen as we talk about how and why she created the Growing Up Confident Collective, a membership for parents who want to help their kids with social and emotional learning. Kim had to move away from the most common advice and conventions about what she should be doing in her business so she could create the vision for her collective. In this conversation, we get into how she made the rebellious decision to start her community before some people would have said she had a big enough audience. For me, this brings up the question of how you decide what to create. You can get advice from colleagues and coaches and consultants, but if you don't create what really fascinates you and brings you joy week after week and month after month, what the hell's the point? As you create your signature program, how can you let joy have a seat at the table from the very beginning? As you listen to Kim talking about her program, I think you're going to feel her genuine love and excitement for it. Let's jump right in with Kim Restivo Lange. Welcome, Kim. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Annie. I'm very excited to talk with you.
Me too. So tell me about why helping parents help their kids grow up confident is such an important movement to you.
Well, I found through my work as a counselor in my private practice that there were so many factors going into this word confidence. That parents would come in and say, my children are lacking confidence, or my children are hard on themselves, or, they're thinking all these horrible things and saying all these horrible things about themselves. And what I really discovered through all my conversations with kids is what is going on for a lot of them is they just don't understand their emotions. They don't understand how they're wired, and they don't understand that for the most part, it's all just normal parts of being a human. And they start to take everyday occurrences of, I got in trouble for this, or I made that mistake, or this person looked at me sideways and stuck their tongue out at me. And all those things happen to all of us, but they don't have that awareness or that understanding yet. And so they make it mean something's wrong with me, something's bad about me. I need to shrink or hide or make myself less than. And when we can come together as adults and really help kids know, no, all of these things are normal. They might not feel comfortable. They might make you sad or mad, but they are not indicators or evidence that there's something wrong with you. When we can help them really understand their emotions, and when we can have those conversations as parents or teachers or counselors, have those conversations with them, normalizing all of it and explaining at their developmental level all of it, so that they realize, oh, this is just stuff that happens that I need to figure out what to do about. I believe that that is where that confidence and ability to be compassionate with ourselves comes from. And that's what we can do as adults, except for a lot of us haven't had that modeled, myself included. We have not had that modeled. And so it's coming together to figure out, how do we have these conversations with kids?
Beautiful. And I'm just imagining that as parents are getting this education and working through this stuff, that they're also working on themselves, that ends up impacting the way that they see their own confidence.
Yeah, because a lot of times we just naturally think I'm doing it wrong. I'm going to do it wrong. I'm going to mess up. And there's a right way. An example is I had someone I was talking to and they're like, okay, my child, not in my counseling office, just in my life, they were sharing that, I think we need to go to a counselor because, my child still sleeps in my bed. They're 9 and they sleep in their bed at their dad's house. They were a divorced family. And I want to change that at my house, but dad doesn't want to change it at his house. And we don't know how to do that. And I'm like, well, absolutely. A counselor can guide you through that. But so can lots of parents have had these experiences. I'm willing to share my experience with what's worked with me helping children through this transition. And it's not necessarily that you need to go to an expert, quote unquote, and that's the only way you can figure this out, because there are a million different ways to raise kids, and every child's temperament is different. Every parent's temperament is different. And when we can support them in developing that confidence in themselves, as you said, that self-trust that I can make these choices, and even if I don't get the outcome I most desired, I can try something different. It's not going to damage my child for life.
Future Annie jumping in here. If you're ready to create a signature program beyond the therapy room that brings you joy, join me for Create Your Program, a 5-week experience. Let's shave some months or years off of your learning curve and get your program to the people who need it. This group is limited to 8 highly motivated people. Learn about it and apply at rebeltherapist.me/create. We get started in January of 2020. All right, let's get back to our conversation with Kim. The last time we talked about your membership, I just got this amazing feeling about how much joy it brings you. So can you tell us a little bit about the membership and just what it is?
Yeah, I do love my membership. It does bring me a lot of joy. Just a little bit of backstory. When I branched out and expanded my voice beyond just my counseling office and my practice, I started with an online course. And that's what, you're learning and you're trying to figure it out. And everyone's like, oh, make a course. So I, hired the
Kind of
people.
like the thing you hear you're supposed to do.
Yep. They told me to make my course and I'm like, okay. And I made my course and it was called the Calming Compass and I ran it a couple times. And while people did get benefits from it, there was great information there. It was super unfulfilling for me. I did not enjoy, I learned a lot about myself. I do not enjoy not having connection with the people going through the course. And they would be consuming video modules and maybe showing up for the live calls, maybe not showing up for the live calls. I couldn't really get kind of my finger on the pulse of what was going on. So that was one piece. I really wanted to connect with the people. I really wanted to have these conversations, and it wasn't happening through my course.
So there was something about the course format, because even though you did live calls, like you had interaction with people, people had access to you, but do you feel like there was something about just that format of a course where you're handing curriculum to people that kind of created a barrier?
I think so. I think it definitely set up that hierarchy of I know and you don't know, and the other people may not know. So there's that whole vulnerability of being, oh, somebody else knows and I don't know. And do I really want to show up live on a call and be like, I don't know, with someone that I'm just, we're all at the beginning stages of getting to know each other in an online course. And it's like, it's very different in my community now because we have spent that time together. People can show up and it's not about me knowing, it's about me sharing my experience and asking them to share their experience, because that is just as valid. Their experience with their children or their students or their clients is just as valid as my experience with my clients, because there's millions of there's different ways to do everything. And I just got really frustrated with all the articles of 5 steps to fixing everything that gives you stress about your child. It's like, really? No.
Yeah. And so now, so what happens in the membership? Do they have, like, is there curriculum that you're giving them, or is it all, group process oriented, or what is the combination going on in there?
We're in the middle of a little bit of a shift. Our first year, we just entered our second year of the Growing Up Confident Collective. Our first year, we had weekly practices, and they were every Monday, and it was a written piece that I would give to the community about whatever our monthly topic. Every year, we cover anger and anxiety and sadness, but then we also last year did overcoming overthinking and quieting perfectionism and just technology, how to help kids have good digital citizenship in the world. So whatever our topic is, then I would give a weekly practice of here's a little tidbit or a strategy or something that I've found come up when I'm doing this work on this topic with kids. Share your experience on it. And then we would also have a monthly roundtable discussion where we'd get together on video conferencing and chat about what our experiences are. And at that point, we also had like kids zone activities. So they were activities you can do with your children. So that is all still in the membership community. But now for year two, we're evolving it to be, I want to include other people's voices besides my own. So we are including interviews and conversations with other guest speakers. This month, we're doing Holiday Hoopla. So we've had a guest speaker on helping with the triggers. How do you manage your own triggers that might come up? How to talk to kids about aging grandparents or aging elders in their family that they might be seeing over the holidays. And one on self-care, of course.
Beautiful. So, how do you find and choose guest experts, and then how do you bring them in to the community? How does that part work?
Mm-hmm. Well, we're just at the beginning phases, but so far I'm reaching out to people that I see their work online or I've met them through my networks online, and that I just know that their work is interesting and going to answer a question that my community members are having and aligned with my values and the community's values too. So I reach out and we just kind of connect and get those interviews scheduled. And one of the core beliefs or core values of our community is connection. So every guest speaker is invited into the community. They're invited in to participate for the month that they are featured or for longer if they choose to stay. It's really what benefits them, what benefits the community, what benefits all of us together. So they're in there so that if questions pop up or you listen to their interview or you just want to say thanks, that they're in there to talk to as well, because they have all really honed their expertise in different areas. But again, our focus isn't on they're going to tell us what to do. Our focus is always on, this is what they've found works through their experience. Have you tried this? Does it work for you? Do you need other ideas? What ideas work for you? It's never, again, those 1, 2, 3 steps to do whatever. It's always, hey, let's hear what other people in the world are doing. Because I think that conversation about children's social and emotional wellness can get stuffed under the rug so easily. Oh, they're fine. Just stop crying. We don't need to discuss this. And so really shining the light on, let's have as many of these conversations as we can, because that just fills us with the language to be able to have it with our own kids.
I feel like there's something through this whole process of what you're building. There's something about like vulnerability here that is so important that, like, I think I totally see that too, that we want to shove things under the rug. And one of the ways we do that, I think, is to kind of look to experts and to say, like, this person's going to give me like this next book or this next session with an expert or this next whatever is going to give me the answer. And sometimes that can be helpful, but like I feel like you're creating something that is encouraging people to be truly vulnerable and to create enough safety that they can kind of stop trying to just solve things and actually be with things.
Yeah, I love the way you phrase that because it is, I'll speak for myself. In my life, it's much easier if I'm trying to learn something. And when I branched out into this online world, it was much easier to hire someone that was going to tell me, here's how you do a webinar. Step one, you do this. Step two, you do that. Step three, you do this. And what I found out is, well, that might be what works for them. But my webinar, when I did it their way, didn't work for me. It felt stiff. It wasn't personal. It wasn't expressing what I wanted to express. And I followed all their steps. I'm a good rule follower. But it didn't create the outcome I most desired. And it was no fun. And so that's what my goal is with parents and educators and counselors. Like, let's have these conversations about children's social and emotional wellness. Let's have them. Again, it's so much about creating language because a lot of times it's like, I don't know the words. I'm afraid of saying the wrong words. And it's about your presence and just saying, you know what, here's how this person said they had this conversation. And here's how this person said they had this conversation with kids. And how can I meld this to be my style and my kids' style so that it is really authentic and vulnerable and not a 1, 2, 3.
And I love how you're connecting the way that you do your marketing to the way that you want to run your community, like that it's all part of an ecosystem. So how are you getting people to know about you? How are people finding the community?
Well, we're still at our infancy stages with that piece. It has mostly been through my email list. Currently, that is the main driver to the community. We have right now it's a bi-monthly email, and it comes a bi-week, every other week email, and it comes out and it shares a little bit on whatever our monthly topic is. And it also includes a link to join the community if you want to be part of the conversation. And it usually includes other links out to great resources on the topic.
And how are people getting onto the email list?
I have a couple different opt-ins. The most popular one is an emotions chart activity that you can do with kids, and it's based on the Inside Out movie by Pixar and Disney. So it has the little characters from the movie, and it's basically just it's a bar graph, but it's a way to rate your feelings, how you're feeling that day, that moment, using markers. So kids love it. And it also can be used like as a daily journal or in the moment of difficulties, let's do a feelings check-in. So it's a great activity that builds kids' emotional awareness and is a communication tool that can kind of, when they're like, I don't want to talk about it or I don't know, it kind of helps open that door to communicate. That is my number one opt-in that people sign up for and then get on my mailing list from there.
Oh, cool. And have you tried different opt-ins?
I have an ebook that is about helping to guide the kids through anxiety. So that is still up. And I have Feeling Finder activity that is just kind of embedded in an article that I had written. So I have those. They just, one's embedded in an article, so it's less visible to people. And the other one, I think when people think of an ebook versus a fun activity, it's a little less desirable.
Uh-huh. So the fun activity has been your biggest lead magnet. Interesting. And how do you get that lead magnet in front of people? Do you use social media or I mean, I know we're talking about it now, so here's one way, but
right here on the podcast. The number one driver to that is actually Pinterest. So when I first created it, I put up just a regular Pinterest pin and it did okay. And then I ran one ad back in whenever, this was years ago. I created it when the Inside Out movie first came out. So I created one ad in Pinterest for it and it lives on. Like this week, I think I had 5 opt-ins for the Inside Out chart. It is alive in Pinterest and gets a lot of views. I don't run ads to it anymore. It just lives there and keeps getting shared.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Okay, so now I'm inspired because I get. I mean, now I'm inspired about Pinterest, I should say, because somebody pinned one of my articles a long time ago, and it continues to get traffic. So I've never done anything on Pinterest with my business, but because of somebody pinning it, it continues to get traffic. And so the only thing I've done there is that I did attach one of my opt-ins to it. But the way I think about marketing is like I want to commit to something and then really give it some energy. So I've ignored that for years because it's not where I'm putting my energy. Like I'm putting my energy into the podcast, a little bit into Instagram, my email, that I kind of choose something and really show up. But there was some low hanging fruit sitting there. And so that's really interesting that that's worked so well for you.
Yeah. And I don't have a strategy. I did, it's that one thing. It lives there from those things I did years ago. And yes, is it in the back of my head? Maybe it would benefit me to have a strategy. Yes, but it just lives there and people keep sharing it. And the way I use Pinterest is just as a search engine. And I go there mostly for activities to use with kids or decorating ideas or recipes. And so you just kind of, if you're hitting on one of those things that people are looking for, you'll just pop up. And it's just so easy and nice.
Interesting. And so as you're in this stage of growing your community, how much time are you spending in the community as opposed to with, one-on-one clients and the other things that you're doing in your business?
I have my private practice and I see mostly children. So my afternoon hours, 3 days a week are with my clients. So I head to the office about 2:30 every day and see clients in the afternoon, or not every day, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and see clients. Mondays are mostly my create days. So any writing I need to be doing, any putting together the videos, getting the transcriptions set, those type of things. It's really focused wholly on the community. And then my mornings on Tuesday and Wednesday are focused on any reaching out, scheduling guest interviews, doing connection calls, creating social media posts. I focus mostly on Facebook, so I create posts for Facebook right now. And then Thursday, we have a weekly roundup post. I call it our Friday celebration post. So on Thursday, I write our Friday celebration post and people post their celebrations and I do a community roundup of things that have been happening. Then I head to yoga and then I see my clients in the afternoon. And Friday, I try to save because my husband usually works a half a day on Fridays. And so we have what we call our secret lunch when everyone thinks we're working, but we're not. And then
well, now they know.
I know. I told. Oh, no. We're working at our secret lunch. And then we go and do kind of whatever we need to do so that our weekend is free for our own lives and what we want to have fun doing.
Oh, beautiful. What platform? I mean, I actually know the answer to this, but I want you to get to share it with other people because it'll be helpful. What platform are you using for your community?
Yeah, the Growing Up Confident Collective is on Mighty Networks. And it has really created that nice, as you mentioned earlier, safe, quiet space. We're not on Facebook. People don't have to fear who's going to see it. You can see everyone in the community by just clicking the member button. You see who's going to see it. There's no fear. It's also, I'm in there every day. I'm talking to people and answering things. So it's not like a crazy Facebook group where things are happening and there's stress and drama and things like that. It's really just this nice, quiet place where we talk about how to navigate kids' emotional world. And I love the Mighty Networks platform for that.
I love it too. I've switched over there. I've finished up with Facebook in terms of I used to use secret Facebook groups for all of the groups I was running so that it would be a place where we could stay in touch and people could ask me questions. And even though they were secret, they still felt cluttered. Like it still felt hard to focus and, knowing that your information isn't really as private over there. So I'm really loving, like I just finished up really at the end of October with my Facebook groups and everything's over on Mighty Networks now. And I'm surprised how much of a difference it's making, not just for the people I work with, but for me being able to like go to that network and see who has a question for me and just be kind of peaceful and calm and focused. It's really different.
It is. And that's what people are like, well, how is it different than a Facebook group? And it's so hard to put into words, but it is that kind of energetic feeling is just so different. And now I've been in Mighty Networks group for a year and a half. When I go to Facebook and people, I'm in a program with a Facebook group right now, and the notification pops up, and my instant reaction is like, I don't have time for that right now. It just pops up whenever it pops up. And sometimes I'm on Facebook to play, or sometimes I'm on Facebook to waste time or to connect with my friends. And so if a notification for something business related pops up, I'm like, oh, it's not business time. I don't have time for this. And then it doesn't happen. Whereas when I go into Mighty Networks, it's purposeful. I go to this network because I want to talk about this. I go to that network because I want to talk about this. And it's not these things pulling at my attention all the time with me going, no, no, no. Okay, yes to this. And things get lost, at least in my Facebook world.
Yeah, things totally get lost. And I think that it works the same way for your community with parenting. Like I'm thinking it also is a nice ritual for people to be deciding like, yeah, I'm going to go over, like for the people who are in my community, I'm going to go over to the network and I'm going to ask a business question and I'm going to get some business support, get inspired by something around business rather than like, I'm just going to kind of go to Facebook and see what happens and have my, cousin messaging me at the same time as I'm trying to focus on my business. Yeah, very confusing.
So much more purposeful over at Mighty Networks, definitely.
Yeah. And so if you could time travel to the start of your business, what would you tell the Kim of that time? So if you could think of one thing that's kind of a tactical thing that you would tell her and one thing that's more of a mindset thing.
For the mindset piece, I would tell her the thing that I forgot, which was to trust yourself. I got all into somebody else knows how, and I need to hire them to tell me. And then voila, I'll be successful with it. And that wasn't how, maybe that works that way for some people. It was not how it worked for me. It was definitely a path I'm still on. So I think mindset wise, it would be remember how you started your private practice. You didn't hire anyone to help you. You knew you were going to do it. You knew it was going to be a success. You knew it was going to take time. And so I made pamphlets and went to all the guidance counselors. Well, that didn't really work. So then I contacted all the pediatricians and took them Olive Garden back in the day. And that really worked. And so then it was like, okay, what can I try next? Because I had only been in my community for 8 months. Nobody knew me. And so it was really, we dressed as pirates and went to the aquarium for trick or treat under the sea and handed out things. It's like, what is fun and what works and what doesn't? And I lost track of that when I started being online and really felt like others know better than I do. So the mindset piece would be trust myself, follow my path. As far as kind of strategy, again, I got very caught up in tactics. Like I need to know how to make my website. I need to know how to run a Facebook ad. I need to know how to do a webinar, like tactics. And I'd say to Kim of back then, like focus on skills. Skills that I found are most important are learning how to write copy, write sales copy, and write in a way that connects with people versus an academic or clinical way, which is how I was trained to write. So if that skill has served me so well, just learning and practicing how to write for the online world. And the second thing, strategy-wise, would be building an audience. They don't kind of tell you like, hey, let's start with building an audience. Let's start with really connecting with people. They start with build your course. And it's like, well, if no one knows you and you haven't connected with anyone, it's like you can build your course. Who knows what's going to happen? But those would be strategies, would be really connect with the audience. Again, learn how to write in a way that does connect with your audience. And then we already all know our stuff. So the value's there. It's just learning to connect and reach with the people through the strategies we choose to use.
Oh, I love that. Yes. Yeah. And so I guess I'm noticing one thing around overall strategy that you've done that's kind of a rebellious thing to do, which is having a community. I don't know how many people listening even know about these ideas, but there are these online ideas out there that like you can't have a community until you have a huge audience. Like you can run a course or you can run a small group or whatever, but you have to wait till this particular critical mass before you can start a community. And you found that a community was a better fit for you than a course, and you just went ahead and started, and you're building it as you go. And like there's something kind of rebellious about that, and I just want to acknowledge like that's really working for you.
Yeah, I see so much in my community. There's so much value there for me personally and for our members that it's like a life force of its own, not to be too woo woo, but like I can feel it and it is evolving and developing and growing and changing just like we do. And I'm learning along with it. So if I had held it back and said, oh no, you're too small, you can't try this, like I'd still be waiting. And it brings me so much joy because I've discovered about myself, I don't like to do the same thing over and over again. So in my community, we have different themes every month. We're always talking about different things. We're always doing different things. I'm always looking at ways that the community will fulfill the needs of the members. And so it allows me total freedom to create and explore and share whatever is needed by the community. And that to me is so thrilling and so fun because it allows me to explore myself. It allows me to grow my skills of what the work I do with kids. And it allows me to connect with all the members that we do have in our community, which really fills me up and energizes me.
Love it. Oh my God, I love it. Thank you so much, Kim, for sharing and letting us behind the curtain and letting us in on your journey. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.
You can find out more about Kim Restivo Lange at growingupconfident.com. I want to thank Brianne Rising for coordinating with our guest and Cosmo Palms for editing this episode. My birthday is very soon, and I'm going to be turning 48. What I would love for my birthday from you is your rating on Apple Podcasts. Your 5-star rating makes a huge difference in helping other rebellious therapists and healers find us. As of this recording, we're getting close to 100 ratings, and I would love to get us over that milestone. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.